Chapter 16. I. Ina saw the human go limp on the ground as Celes struck him in the back of the head, hard. Stupid human. Why hadn't he run? She thought. The Anguis Naga were young and inexperienced warriors, likely on their way to complete the ritual of greeting at the wall, but to them the human might as well been a baby. With paralyzed arms, idiot. She struggled against the net as they turned their attention back towards her. A chill ran down her spine. The Naga now had everything they had came for, and there was no reason to keep her alive. Where the abyss is Obs? Probably in the mountain, too deep to hear her call. This time of the year, he would disappear past the iron gate down into the depths for long stretches. She wasn't sure what he did down there. He had made it clear she was not to ever go past the gate. Celes approached her, idly swishing the tide sword in the air in front of him. I wonder if this tide sword has ever tasted the blood of a tainted one. Surely it is no stranger to human entrails. His eyes glinted. The other two Naga looked a little uncomfortable, shoulders drooping, but they did not intervene. Then, from the volcano, a thunderous boom sounded. All three Naga turned to look in its direction. What was that? Celes narrowed his eyes. Inwardly, Ina sighed. Maybe she would survive this. Told you, the wizard that lives here is dangerous, and now he is coming. The other two Naga looked wary, but Celes chuckled. If you think you can try... A flicker of something struck the beach fast and hard. An explosion of sand erupted, obscuring everything. Ina closed her eyes as the sand blasted past her. As she opened them, she saw the end of a geyser of sand retreating back down to the beach. Obs was now standing just 5 feet away, with a dark look in his eyes. Where the three Naga had stood were now 3 sand statues, completely encased. She looked at Celes, and only a small horizontal window in front of his wide, panicked eyes showed any indication that he was even still alive. Ina. Ob's calm voice seemed incongruent with his wild-looking eyes. Go check on Jacob. She was about to respond that she was trapped and then realized the net had been shredded by something and was in tatters around her. She met his gaze and nodded, heading over to the human. She knelt next to him so that she could still see Obs and the 3 Naga, and relaxed slightly when she saw that Jacob's chest was still moving. He's alive, she nodded at Obs. Ob's features seemed to relax momentarily, and then hardened once more as he turned his gaze back toward the Naga. Slowly, their frozen figures started to rotate until they were all pointing directly at him. They made no sound, but they did have sand covering their mouths. All 3 had wide eyes. When he spoke, it was with none of the usual mirth. His speech seemed more powerful somehow. Ina felt the sands around her vibrate with his words. Is it possible the Naga have forgotten me? Oath breakers. He spat out the last word. He walked over to Celes and plucked the tide sword from his frozen grip. To touch a tide sword unbidden shames your brood. He walked back to his original position and dropped the sword point down to stick straight up out of the sand. Do the halls of Nagara no longer provide sufficient education? The trapped Naga were not capable of responding. Nagin would be disappointed. He paused. Then I suppose it falls to me. The Naga started to rise into the air, eyes panicking. They rose until they were 30 feet up and then rotated so they were horizontally facing the ground. Ob's voice softened. Ina, how many times did they strike you? Ina had been holding Jacob's head in her lap, watching with rapt attention. 5 times. It was only the one in the middle, and he hit the human 3 times. Hobbs nodded. To watch and do nothing is no better. They will share the blame, as is their way. He turned back, and the 3 sand-encrusted Naga crashed into the ground, their sandy prisons shattered on impact, providing no protection. All 3, with mouths now uncovered, screamed. Sellers was the first to pick himself off the ground and immediately glared at Hobbs, licking blood off the corner of his mouth with a forked tongue. Do you know who my... A rush of sand filled his mouth, gagging him. Hobbs raised his eyebrows as if daring the others to speak. They did not. 1, Hobbs said, with finality. Then Naga started to rise into the air again, this time not encrusted with sand. Their limbs splayed out wildly. After rising 15 feet, they slammed into the ground with a crunch, then started to rise again. This! Hobbs shouted, and then they slammed. Island! Slam. Belongs! Slam. One of the other Naga whimpered. 2! Slam. One landed wrong, and the next time they rose, his leg was pointing at an odd angle. Me! Crunch. Hobbs paused and thought for a moment, then said out loud, How many times was that? Probably enough. All 3 of the Naga's faces were broken, skin hanging off shattered bone at odd angles, symmetry destroyed. Stand, he commanded. The Naga shakily got to their feet, one awkwardly balancing on a broken leg. The punishment for your trespasses is satisfied. However, he pointed at Sellers, you have performed additional transgressions of a more individual and serious nature. You bear the shame of unwarranted violence. Worse, you have stolen a tide sword from its bearer and then sought to use it for shameful purposes. Raise the hand that performed violence, Hobbs commanded. The broken and bleeding Sellers slowly raised his right hand. Now, raise the hand that held the stolen tide sword. The same hand stayed in the air. Good. I will only need to take 1. An arc of sand rose up out of the ground and shot through Sellers' arm where it attached to his shoulder. Sellers issued a muffled scream as the arm fell onto the sand with a thunk. The now exposed shoulder hole was covered in charred, smoking skin as though it had been cauterized. Hobbs sniffed the air and licked his lips. It's been a while since I've had Naga. The arm stays with me. Now, normally, I would kill all of you. Lucky for you, I have another option to restore your honor. I request a meeting with Nolathun. Tell him the halls of Nagara have failed the youth, and tell him I wish to negotiate.